Hello, guys. Hello, guys. How are you? I hope you're doing. I'm sure you're doing well. Thank you for joining to us. Thank you to join. And today we have a special guest. It's lead designer. Meet Radion. Radion, please go ahead.
Hello, everyone. I don't see how many there are you, but
Yeah, we see you and hear
yeah,
you. Well,
yeah. Can you hear me? Can you see me? I should be able to see my screen.
yeah, sure.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah. Well, welcome. Because we're using a different system. I mean, at least I'm using a different system because it's new to me. I don't see how many there are right now, and how many is watching, how many is listening. So, hello. So, I guess I can start, right? Um, okay. So today we're going to be talking about when design is testable and when testing inspires, right? So without further ado, let me move my mouse here. Uh, um, I'll introduce myself real quick, right? Once again, I said I don't know how many there are you, how many designers, how many testers, right? But I hope we're all united by one single goal: building a better product. Uh, and one small thing, since I sharing the screen, I don't think I'll be able to see your comments. So if there's any comments, I guess just share it, and Tatiana will we'll look at them at the end of the talk. So um, let me introduce myself. My name is Rodion Alifanov, and I design things. I personally don't really like to talk a lot about myself. So I'm a UX designer with 10 years of experience, which means I've spent a decade convincing developers that just move the button is never as easy as it sounds. That joke, by the way, was written by the ChatGPT. I've asked them to write me a joke for beginning of the talk, and not really a funny one, but I decided to add it anyway. I'll just have a sip of water and we'll continue with the talk. So just give me a second. Right. So, as Etienne said, I'm lead UX designer in Nippon. I've been doing this for a while. I started as a graphic designer, Jesus, about like maybe 20 years ago. Uh, Moved to web design, and then when UX started kind of, getting more popular, I decided, okay, this is the place for me, and I've been here ever since, and I love it. I love it. I'll be honest with you. So, from sort of my experience, I decided to collaborate with the QA community, and this is pretty much what I'm going to be talking about, right? So I would like to start with a confession. Early in my career, I thought QA was the final gate, so to speak, right? So designers create, developers build, and QA checks, right? Simple, right? Yeah, but then reality hit me. A design that looked perfect in Figma uh, fell apart once the users actually touched it. Right, when they started using it, buttons behaved differently on mobile. Edge cases I had never imagined suddenly became the main case. Right, QA didn't just test the product; they tested our assumptions. This is the conclusion that I got to, right? And that's when I realized design and testing aren't separate steps, right? They're part of the same conversation about quality, right? And that's what this talk is about, right? About the quality, because at the end of the day, what we're trying to do, we're trying to build a better product. And this is something I've wanted to talk for a very long time. So hopefully you'll learn something. Right? Speaking of that, what do you learn? Right. Today we'll explore how testable design and quality testing are interconnected and how both can become an absolutely enormous, powerful tools for creating a successful product. By the end of this talk, hopefully, once again, hopefully, you'll walk away with practical tools to make design more testable, proven approaches to boost UX creative collaboration, real examples to inspire better teamwork. Seeing some messages, I hope it's not for me. All right. So if you want to stay ahead of the curve, you are most definitely in the right place. Think of this talk as a bridge connecting creativity and precision, empathy and structure. I know, very strong words. So let's start with the foundation. So I've talked about quality, right? So yeah, quality, but what does that actually mean? So designers and QA engineers often feel like they're on the opposite side of the board, right? On the sprint board, I mean. Designers say it's about empathy and usability, right? QA says it's about precision and reliability. But different words, same goal, quality, right? But we rarely sit together and define what quality actually means. And at least for me, that's, I think, where collaboration often breaks down, because for quality for designer could be one thing, and as I mentioned, it's an empathy and usability. We absolutely go nuts and crazy about usability. This is the only thing we're talking about, right? And on the QA side, I mean, it's precision and reliability. Jesus, trying to say that quick. But what I want to talk next is about how we can refine, that quality together. So quality in UX terms, right? If you're going to break it down a little bit more, means users trust the product to do what they expect every single time, right? I hope most of you are going to agree. At least, the designers are listening to me. Quality in QA terms means product behaves consistently within its requirements, right? So when we shift focus from roles to the outcome, the wall suddenly disappears, right? What we're doing is we're both designing for user needs, right? So, got a couple of practical takeaways. In early sprint planning, ask one shared question. What does quality mean to the user here? It's a very simple question, but it can actually hold a lot of weight when you're start working, on a product, right? I'm not even talking about like a feature or a task. I'm talking about the product, right? And we'll kind of dive a little deeper later on. But here's some examples, right? So quality for banking app, it could be security and clarity, right? So quality for a food delivery app, speed and reliability. Quality for like any internal tool, efficiency and a low friction. So once both sides agree, test cases and design decision, they sort of like align naturally. Right. Okay. So I'm just hoping there are no questions. Everything's fine. Okay. So yeah, once both sides agree, test cases and design decision, they align naturally. You don't even have to force it, because once you agree on the quality, because when you meet, in the middle, you're like, okay, so what do we agree for the banking activity, okay, security. So if you keep that in mind, start working on a product, everything is just gonna align. The test cases that the QA is gonna write, and every design decision you're gonna make. I'm talking to you designers. They will just align, on their own. Um, so here's again quick proven approach. Now we're going to talk about, so I've talked about the quality, right? So let's talk about how we can align UX, QA, quality, and how we can do it, So one solid proven approach is to introduce a short UX, QA quality alignment. And obviously you can do it before each sprint. 5 minutes is definitely enough to synchronize expectations and prevent issue later. And believe me, those 5 minutes are gonna save you so much time later on. And I'll talk about a little bit more, today. So the tiny ritual builds a shared understanding of what quality means for each release, right? I mean, if you have like a 2-week sprint or monthly sprint, or even like, you have a goal, it's a half year or a year or something. So those tiny rituals can, share the better understanding. A quick tip, based on my experience, once again, try rotating the facilitator each sprint. Sometimes QA leads it, sometimes UX. It keeps both sides engaged, and it helps, helps the team, especially designers and QA, feel that they're achieving something, that they're engaging with one another. So now let's talk about you, right? Let's dive into designer's side. What makes design truly testable, right? A testable design isn't just a beautiful mockup, it's a behavioral blueprint. So here what makes it testable. Here's what makes design actually testable. Interaction clarity. Every action has a predictable result. QA should know exactly what happens when they click something. You can achieve it many ways. Documentation, a quick note in Figma, clickable prototype. Boy, oh boy, how that help QA, you have no idea. Because whenever they start working on this story, they need to know what the outcome will be. And again, just putting a quick clickable prototype doesn't take that long. It easily just a 5-minute thing, So it doesn't affect you that much, but it helps QA very, very much. So it brings clarity to whenever QA start working on on the story. So define edge cases. What happens when users break the rules, right? For example, what if someone uploads a 200 gigabyte file, right? And I know some of you QA are weird like that. You can even do like a terabyte file just to see, just to see what happens. But again, define edge cases, and we actually talked about it previously. Like for example, in the previous approach, UX quality alignment before you sprint, you can see. What I mean is QA can help you find those edge cases, right? Because they ask the proper questions. The next thing is explicit states, success, error, empty states, loading states, makes testing a whole lot easier and possible. Please don't forget about 404 pages. Don't forget about, let's say you created some action, right? So the button created an action. So what you have to do is you have to create an animation, or again, interaction clarity, maybe there's a clickable prototype. So try to design and try not to forget about all the explicit states. And I'll be honest with you, devs will ask similar questions. When I was going to start working on the story, like, oh, where is that? When you're on the grooming or anywhere. So they will definitely ask the same questions. Last, but definitely not least, traceable logic. Every design decision links back to a user goal. Again, this can be documentation in Jira ticket. When this happens, QA doesn't just test the code; they test the intent, right? And again, if let's say in Jira ticket, it's documentation is not well defined, if it's not really established, just have a quick note, in Figma, so the QA know, what's the logic behind whatever you're doing, So yeah, certainly I've been talking all day today, so. And while I was preparing for this talk, I've actually tried to find some real examples. And when I look online, there was one case which I kind of find peculiar. In one project, QA found 7 bugs, all caused by missing empty states. I don't know if that's true, but there you are. So 7 bugs just based on the empty states. So those are like core fundamentals of what really truly makes the design testable. So what to do next, right? Okay, so we established how to make design testable. So what do you do next, right? So you can hold a testable design review before handoff, right? Before you hand it off to developers, right? So the best way to do it is invite QA to review prototypes and flag and clear flows. Show them your design and listen to them. Let them ask what happens if, and based on my experience, I can guarantee you the QA gonna have a million questions. And because that's exactly what your users will do, right? So just show them design and let them talk, right? A 30-minute review can save days and days of rework later. Now let's flip the lens, right? We're talking about designers. Now I want to focus on QA, right? We're going to flip the lens and talk about you testers, right? So testing isn't just validation. It is an inspiration, right? QA is often the first to see how design holds up in the real world. And every bug tells a certain story, right? So look at it, a couple of examples, right, I found here. So users keeps misclicking the link. Maybe spacing needs improvement, right? Form validation fails often. Maybe the message isn't clear. Automated test breaks on mobile. Well, maybe responsive wasn't fully designed, right? When designers listen to QA, they get real user insight faster than any analytics or user testing ever could. I treat QA as a first real. Let's have an example, right? Let's say you're in a project and you don't have access to real users. Here are your real users, right? The QA. They will ask and they will do exactly the same thing as the real users would, right? So the proven approach, right? So let's talk about the testing insight loop. Again, when I was working on this, I created this this loop, and I believe this is a proven approach because I've actually done it myself, right? And a testing insight section to design retrospectives, right? So QA shares an unexpected behavior or user pain points they discover. Designers turn those into an improved component or pattern, and it goes back to QA, and and it's just and it's a loop. So the feedback loop that I'm talking here about doesn't just fix bugs; it evolves your design system and design approach as a whole. So um, now we're getting to more juicy part, right? So this is the framework. To make this partnership sustainable, here are outlined four proven frameworks that I found that definitely will work in your project, right? So, so the first one is the joint sprint kickoff. Again, we've talked about it before, right? So bring UX, QA, and dev for that matter, before development begins. They will have a lot to say about your designs. Don't just ignore your teammates, right? Yeah, you had a lot of meetings with the dev team, but QA, don't forget about them because, as I said before, they gonna look and completely different. They will have a completely different look at your designs. So review designs, flows, and acceptance criteria. Again, try to align on the quality, as I said before. Sometimes it can be uncomfortable for the new designers, but it prevents interpretation drift. Jesus, my tongue. So again, if you're a senior designer, you have a thick skin, right? Obviously, when you show designs and you hear, it's not a criticism, right? It's a constructive feedback. But junior designers, they hot-headed, and they can be very uncomfortable when they show designs, and developers like, oh, what do you, why is button on the left side, or QA might say like, what's going to happen if I click here or there, and don't treat it as an attack, as a personal attack. And I'm talking to you junior designers, middle designers. Please just listen, because believe me, they not trying to attack you personally, they trying to help you. Early QA involvement. QA joins during design iteration, not just after. So once again, we've talked about it before. Try to introduce them while you're working on the story, while you're working on design, right? So they ask how, and they might ask questions, how will this be tested on mobile, for example, right? One of the example. What's the expected response for invalid data? They will ask the proper questions. And I think I read it somewhere quite a while ago, and this is the perfect place actually to incorporate it. I've read it somewhere, I don't remember where. It's cheaper to fix a vague design than a vague implementation. Oh my God, I love it, And fixing design and changing things, in Figma, way cheaper than, when things are getting got implemented, and then you're talking to a PO and he's asking questions, and so on and so on. You wasted time, wasted money. Not good, right? So now, continuing to the framework, right? So the third one, continuous feedback loop, right? Again, we've talked about it. So don't wait until the end of the sprint. Ask them questions, right? Use small async updates, right? What I mean, QA comments in Figma, for example. Let's say you're working in sprint and you have maybe doubts, right? You're like, oh, can you take a look at this, and they can just really add a note here. Oh, like again, with the questions like, what's the empty state going to be here? What's going to happen here? What's going to happen if I'm going to upload a terabyte file or something like that? I don't know. Whatever questions they ask. Short 10-minute syncs, right? It doesn't have to be every day, right? Because you have dailies, again, you can ask them questions there. But if you have any questions, just message them, oh, I have a question, I'm really hesitant, can you jump on a call and just, talk about it. So quick little walkthroughs, right? Walk through, let's say if you're working on a more complex case, right? So the very complex user journey, right? So walk through your process so they can actually help you find, the missing link, right? Those missing states. So continuous feedback. Shared documentation, last but not the least important one, keep one unified designing QA handbook. It might include, UX intent, what you initially thought that's how it should work. QA can add, some test cases. Again, it doesn't have to be like, you don't have to spend a lot of time on it, right? Just a quick documentation on, it doesn't have to be on a specific story. It can be on a more broader approach is what I'm trying to say. So error handling logic can also be there, and any visual states. So, and that documentation will be like a one source of truth, right? And so this is going to be a one definition of done. Again, BA gonna thank you a lot, right? So this is going to be the definition of done, this documentation, and Dev can actually use that as well, right? So, a couple of practical tips, right? A shared checklist before every release. Use a shared checklist, and it can hold, are all visual states designed and tested? Check. Are validation messages user friendly? Check. Has QA validated both expected and unexpected behavior? Check. When both sides tick the same boxes, done means the same thing for everyone, right? So again, just a quick checkup. QA can have it on their end, UX can have it on their end, right? Or you can do it in the shared documentation, as I was talking before. So at the end of the day, this isn't about tools or meetings, right? It's about mindset. I'm gonna get a little, sentimental here, right? QA isn't the team that finds mistakes, right? They're the team that helps prove confidence in your design, right? Same thing. Designers aren't the one who heading things off or just designing things, putting things together. They're partners in making experiences testable and reliable for you, right? When that shift happens, QA feels ownership over the user experience. And designers appreciate testing as a creative process. And the whole team, hopefully, uh, moves faster and with more trust. On a little side note, right? I I think what you should do is celebrate, shared wins, not just bug counts, right? And again, at the end of the day, we're a team, right? So when QA catches a usability issue earlier, thank them publicly, in the daily. When design improves testability, QA should highlight it in demos. I'd say appreciation builds trust, and trust, as we spoke before, builds quality. You know, so don't forget about each other. And if the QA really help you, what I'm trying to say is let's just appreciate each other. It goes a long way. So, closing to an end, right? Let's end where we began. When design is testable, you can measure it, obviously. When testing inspires design, you can design with confidence. So Next time, you're designing, just ask yourself, how will this be tested? Next time you're testing, just ask one simple question: what was the user meant to feel here? You know, and I think this is how we move from the checklists in Jira story to a communication, and from just fixing errors, fixing bugs, we're getting to shaping experience. And I'd say at the end of the day, this is what this is all about, right? We're trying to create a better product, shape experience, and build a better communication within our team. And the better communication means an effective team. An effective team means an amazing, amazing product. That's it. Thank you very much. And I heard my team's clicking a bunch. I don't know if it's questions or just my team is messaging me a lot. So
Yes, sure. Thank you, Radion. Thank you from my side, especially from my side, because I am QA and it was very helpful and interesting for me. Yes, thank you. And guys, uh, I want to remind you guys what there might be a delay on our platforms. Yeah, delay between when you type your message and a question and when I see it. We'll wait a bit. But Dion, I have a couple of questions to you. Yes.
already,
First
okay.
question.
Shoot
First
away.
question. How do you implement this system when you have when you're not alone and there you have a team, two, three, or many people in your team?
Okay,
How it will be
good
from your
question.
side?
Very good question.
Mhm.
Okay, it can go both ways, right? Once again, if you're single designer, easy, right? So just use. If it's a team, well, as I said, both ways. If you are team lead, you take an initiative in that. All the meetings, just setting up the meetings. Explaining to both your team, meaning designer team, and talking, with the QA team. Obviously, we're talking about if there's a lot of designers. Obviously, there are a lot of testers, right, or QA engineers, right? So if it's a huge team, yeah, take an initiative if you team lead. If you're on the same level, the same page, let's say there's like four designers and you just middle designers. I guess you just have to agree that it's going to be a collaborative effort.
Mhm.
It's not going to be one person. If there's always a lead on the QA side, right? 99% of the time. 99% of the time. So try to try to kind of say there's going to be a collaborative effort and go to QA lead and say, okay, we're going to try to implement this thing, and let's work together. Let's build a communication. Let's create a shared document. And let's say if you're working on a story, let's say one of the four designers, right? So you have an issue. Again, just message QA. You have shared chat. Just message. Oh, I have a question. Can we jump on a quick call? 10-minute call. So yeah, just try to do that for the QA. Same thing. If you're a lead, take an initiative, do set up a meeting, try to uh, use this mindset, right? And again, if you're just everyone on the same page, so just do as designers do, just ask questions, again, if designers or if it's a junior designer, right? Take an initiative. Send them, okay, maybe you need help. Let's jump on a call. Maybe I can help you. Find some missing, use cases, whatever. Again, it doesn't have to take like half a day or a whole day. 10-minute call, 30-minute call. Not that much. So I guess I
Okay,
hope I
so
answered the
well,
question.
Very well. Next question to you. Okay, Rodion, what about if the testers don't want to use this framework?
Okay, the stubble one. Okay, I get it. I get it. Well, just to try to um, explain them what it will bring at the end of the day, right? Say, okay, let's have shared meetings. They're gonna say, oh, screw that, I'm not gonna do that. Tell them, well, it will help me to find the missing, use cases, the missing pages, which gonna help you at the end. Again, I was talking about it. So this is this is the mutual thing, right? We're in the same page. We're trying to build a product. And when I was talking in the beginning about, well, I was talking about the quality, just tell them we're trying to do the same thing, right? So uh, if you try to initiate some of the things that I was talking about in this talk, explain what it will bring and how it will help them specifically, because you know how it will help you. Try to explain how it will help them, and when they're gonna understand
Mhm.
it, they're not gonna agree out, they're gonna fully support it. And I'm talking from experience. It's not just I'm saying things. It's because I implemented this thing, implemented this, and in the projects that I worked on. So
Okay, I got it. Thank you. So, Rodion, so you explained everything perfectly, and I
I hope
think our
so.
guys have no question yet.
It
I'm
scares
sitting
me
not
and
sure.
frightens me. I wasn't muted this whole time, and they actually heard me, and I'm just looking at the images. But correct me if I'm wrong. There's going to be like an upload to YouTube, right, or whatever, so I
Mm-hmm.
can actually, if they have time, they can actually
Mm-hmm.
ask question then or later on, whatever the platform is. I don't know how you in QA
Yeah.
dealing with it. Um, and while I'm here, I just want to do a little. Commercial again, since I'm doing it with with the QA Hub.
Mm-hmm.
Designers have their community as well, which is ThinkUX. So if there are any designers join, please join our community as well. Let's have a shared experience and QA as well. We have a lot of good things happening. So I'm not. I hope I'm not stealing the light here. It's just a small ad
Yeah.
here. I just kind of
Yeah.
selected it. Okay.
Sure. Sure. I got it. Perfect. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Rodion. Thank you, guys, for joining. Rodion, many passions from my side, from everyone. Everyone says you thank you. And guys, see you next talk.
Thank
Bye.
you guys. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye. Bye. Thank you, Rodion. Thank you.